What's up, hockey fans? Welcome to another edition of Just Winging It. Many of you have followed along through the last 15 or 16 months, and we have hit our 50th episode of the show, and it wouldn't be possible without you watching. So thank you so much for that. We've had players, we've had front office staff, we've had coaches, we've had equipment managers, we've had alumni. Couldn't think of a more perfect guest for our 50th episode than the owner of your Kalamazoo Wings, Bill Johnston. Bill, thanks so much for doing this.
Oh, absolutely. I'm delighted to be here, John.
It's an honor to have you on the show. This is something that we didn't know how long we'd be able to take this show when we first started. But it's been a strange 15 or 16 months during the pandemic. What have you been up to?
To say it mildly, right?
Right.
Well, been up to the same thing that everybody is, and that's trying to work through the pandemic, work through the challenges of the pandemic, hopefully seeing as many people as possible. We're safe and we're working through it. Significant challenges for every organization, certainly for the K-Wings, for Greenleaf Hospitality, Greenleaf Trust. All of our business interests dramatically impacted. But that's been true throughout our country and throughout our globe, and everybody's just working to do the very best they can. And now seeing the light at the end of the tunnel here, everybody's anxious to get back to whatever the new normal is going to be, right? And so it's been challenging to try to figure it out successfully, sharing information and also receiving everybody's information, right? But our teams have done a great job. They really have done a great job throughout all of our organizations. I think the Kalamazoo community has stepped up, the state of Michigan has stepped up, and doing our part to try to make sure that our country not only survives, but thrives to the extent that we can and gets better as a result. So,
you mentioned the hospitality industry has been hit particularly hard during this pandemic.
Sure,
and the hockey team had to cancel the end of the 2018 or 1920 season.
Absolutely.
That was a whirlwind. Going back to March of 2020, if we were to flash back, those 2 or 3 days, what was that like from your seat?
Well, the velocity of change was like nothing anybody's ever experienced before, right? It's like a light switch, and now you have a new reality without knowing the duration of that new reality. And so I think as many people, we were thinking maybe this is going to be a 2 to 3 month interruption, that maybe by June of 2020 that we'd be back to our previous normal, and that wasn't the case. That the pandemic was every bit as aggressive and every bit as huge as people were suggesting. And then the reality began to set in. So as organizations shifted to remote schools, I don't care what the organization was, the reality began to set in is that this is going to be a while. Mm-hmm. And so from the ECHL, and obviously from the K-Wings, we had a lot of work to do. We had a lot of research to do. We had a lot of meetings. Obviously, everybody Zoomed to death. But we had great people working on it, great people within the ECHL, great people within the NHL, the AHL, in all of professional sports, trying to manage our way through it, see what the best protocols were, and then follow those protocols and see how we could keep everybody safe and also prepare for the opportunities that we knew would be there when we were able to resume hockey.
Through the course of the summer of 2020, as we were preparing for a potential season in 2021, I think we had every intention to play if possible, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah.
How difficult was it to have to opt out, especially considering it seemed like the spikes kept coming, especially in October, November when that deadline was approaching?
Yeah, the deadline was approaching, and this time it wasn't light at the end of the tunnel. It was the train coming at us, right? Mm-hmm. And so what we had to do was, number one, what we always said is we were going to follow the protocols and we were going to be good citizens and we were going to make sure that we did what the CDC and what the state of Michigan were recommending that we do. And universally within the ECHL, even though it's a diverse team in cities, 26 different teams, we all worked together to do that. There were some options that were before us, but all of those options had to pass through that lens of being safe and following the protocols. And so, we thought for a while we could have an abbreviated season. We thought, and everybody was hoping that we could do that, and maybe without any attendance, but just playing the game. The travel was the most difficult thing. Guaranteeing our players' safety as we traveled became a non-starter for us. We couldn't do it, and so we had to make that decision. But the first priority was to keep our players, our entire team, organization, coaching staff, and everybody that supports the team safe. And so eventually we had to make that decision. And there were a series of decision dates, and we tried to prolong that as much as possible, but also recognizing that our fans, our season ticket holders, our organization had to understand the direction that we were going in. And so we finally made the decision to opt out.
The response from those fans, our season ticket holders, the community was overwhelmingly positive and supportive and understanding of our decision. Yeah. What was that like to have that kind of support from the community in such a challenging time?
Well, we've got great fans. We've got great support. We have since 1974 generations of support. And I think everybody understood that this was kind of a bridge too far to have happen. They were disappointed. We were disappointed, but everybody was focused on doing the same thing, keeping their families safe, being safe, fighting through the pandemic, hoping for that day when vaccines could be readily available and get us back to a more normal time. So yes, fans, corporate sponsors, season ticket holders, everybody was very understanding about it. Knew that we had, I think, in receiving the communications from us, knew that we had tried our best, but that this was, as I say, a bridge too far. We couldn't do it and keep people safe. Yeah.
In today's information age, or in some cases misinformation, especially on the internet, there's a lot of rumors that are always flowing. And I'm sure there's nothing you haven't heard, but especially considering opting out of the season. A lot of people saying, hey, what's the financial stability of this team like? What is your response to some of those rumors?
Well, I think if people that know us well know that the K-Wings organization has been in existence since 1974. And as a privately owned and also privately owned and operated arena, that's very unusual in professional hockey. And since 1974, that's never been interrupted. And we have owned the team for 15 years. Ted and I started talking about it, about the sale, the transition of the team, actually 3 years before 2006. And so the financial stability of the organization shouldn't be questioned. Our commitment to this community shouldn't be questioned. But, rumors on the internet, you can't control those things. Sometimes people have too much time on their hands. And so they have to have something to do, something to comment on, and we understand that. I think what we have proven over our 15 years of ownership is that we make improvements to the arena, we make improvements to the team. Every year we invest money in playing professional hockey, in all of the transitions that we had, going from an IHL, which at the time when we moved from the IHL to the ECHL, the IHL was in serious trouble. I'm sure there aren't a lot of people that know that Ted used to have to pay the payroll of some of those other teams in the old IHL. And so we wanted to move to a more stable league. And so that's when we made the transition in 2009 to the ECHL. We owed that to our fans. We owed it to our corporate sponsors, to our season ticket holders, to our players, to play in a league that was professional, where financial stability wasn't questioned with any of the members. The ECHL is a very professional organization, requires substantial financial commitment from the teams. And that's where we want it to be. That's the kind of organization we are. And that's the kind of organization we always will be.
And you talk about the commitment to this team. It's a perfect example. We're sitting in the home locker room, something that just a few years ago took a massive overhaul to make it to what it is now. And this, for my 2 cents, is the best home locker room that I've been in. It's beautiful.
Right.
So that's a perfect example. I want to shift gears for a second because you talked about when you purchased this team 15 years ago, you and Rhonda. This is obviously a successful organization that's been around a long time.
Right.
But this team's accomplished so much on and off the ice since you purchased the team. What are you guys most proud of?
Well, I think it's that what the team means to the community. And you can't build up that just by playing hockey. You can't build that just by being on the ice. You have to share every aspect of that with the community. So our players are heavily involved in the community. And several of our players have lived in Kalamazoo for a long time. Kalamazoo is a great place to love. It's easy to love, right? Yeah. And so a lot of people stay in Kalamazoo even after their working life. And that's the same thing is true with K-Wings players. So we're in the schools, we're in nonprofit organizations, we're exposing young people to hockey. We're in the youth hockey development organizations throughout the community. We're in reading programs and helping those teachers in the classrooms in a supportive way to get kids to read and do the math, stay in school, be successful. Hospitals, visiting with young patients in the children's areas of hospitals. Our players know that and it's something that they like, they enjoy, that they're connected to the community in these important ways. And it fills them with a sense of community and pride, and that being a K-Wing is not just on the ice, it's in the community too.
Absolutely. And I'm sure a lot of our fans are familiar with some of the things you and Rhonda do in the community as well. It seems like that's something that you guys take a lot of pride in and value those initiatives.
Sure. I mean, everybody makes a decision and a choice about where they live, and you have to love where you live. I mean, it's better that way, right? Yeah. So, from the neighborhood that you live in to the school district that you live in to your social setting. And fortunately, in our community, people have made decisions to invest in this community in a lot of ways. Hundreds of years ago, the Civic Theater was created, right? The Symphony, the Art Institute. People made decisions to invest in those things that help make our community what it is. And so, people can live anywhere, but when you choose to live in a specific place, you also choose to be a part of that community and do what you can for that community.
I have my perch on game nights up there in the press box, best seats in the house. But I love looking across the rink, seeing you in your seats cheering on the team. And I don't think there are a lot of owners in pro sports that do that anymore. Maybe Mark Cuban of the Dallas Mavericks is something that a name that comes to mind. What's your favorite part of coming to these games?
Well, sometimes my wife and Brad Vandenberg, and they have to hold me back because a lot like Mark Cuban, I get in a difficulty with referees from time to time. And so I have to tone that down, and I have over the years. I just love the whole experience. We get here early and we stay until well after the game. And I do that because I want to see, our hockey fans. I want to see them experiencing every aspect of what we do. I believe strongly that Tony Daniels and the team that she leads produce the best on-ice environment in all of the ECHL and many of the AHL experiences. And I know that for a fact, not just because of what I observe, but also because the ECHL has presented us with awards year after year after year for that very thing. Yeah. The on-ice experience, our sales, all of the events that we have, the innovation, creativity of Tony's team really is acknowledged. Many teams in the ECHL come to Tony and say, how do you do what you do? Teach us that. And we're glad to do that, by the way. We want the entire ECHL to be very strong. But when you look at the entire experience, families coming, choosing us, choosing to spend their discretionary dollars by being a K-Wings fan and having their family, kids here, we owe it to them not only to play every shift as hard as we can possibly play. And hopefully the game comes out in our favor. And by the way, when you look at won-loss records, those teams that have great community support win more of the home games than they lose. Yeah. And that's true with the K-Wings and always has been. And that's just evidence that we need our fans, and then our fans get to experience all of that effort that we put forth. And the laughter and the glee, the kids, all of the entertainment portion of it is just something that we love to do too. So it's not just the hockey, but it's the whole package that's important. And that's what makes coming to a K-Wings game joyful.
Speaking of Tony, last season, the 2019-20 season, you and Tony honored Justin Taylor early in the season for setting the franchise record for games played with a commemorative jersey. Also, the year before that, you helped retire two more numbers into the rafters, Kevin Shamahorn and George Gagnon. What's it mean to be a part of those celebrations, knowing the history and some of the great players that have come through here?
Oh, the history is fabulous. And during those celebrations, we have fans that actually travel back to Kalamazoo from wherever they're living throughout the country. We have players that come back from wherever they're living throughout the country. They come back to share in those evenings, those celebratory, and of course it's that evening, but it's really the whole weekend long, right? Yeah. With dinners and with old players getting together, coaches getting together, fans getting together with players, hosting them in their homes. Yeah. And it's just the ties that bind, right? It's special, it's unique. And I don't think that there are many ECHL teams, minor league teams that have that kind of connectivity. But the K-Wings have it, always have had it, and we'll continue to have it too, and to honor them.
You've talked about some of the awards this team has won, and recently the Marketing Department of the Year, the Ticket Sales Department of the Year for Growth. And another accolade, if you will, is last season we set a Guinness World Record.
We did.
On Star Wars Night, the largest lightsaber battle. Now, I got to ask, are you a Star Wars fan? You don't have to say yes. You wouldn't offend anybody. What's your favorite theme night if it's not Star Wars Night?
Well, I'll pass on the Star Wars because, I'm 74 years old, so Star Wars wasn't a part of my life growing up, right? And so what I will say is that I think Orange Ice is, and this is why, because to me it epitomizes the whole community aspect of it. Green Ice, St. Patrick's Day tends to be a little bit more adult oriented, and it's a fun event, right? And it's great, and we'll always do that. But Orange Ice, the kids in the Halloween costumes, and just the parade that goes around through the concourse, the parade, and the laughter and the joy and the wonderment in the young kids' eyes and the way their eyes light up. To me, that Orange Ice game, that's my favorite every year.
Another rumor that I always hear, again going back to the internet, and again I'm sure you've heard it. I know, is someday maybe there's talks this team would move the home arena downtown. Right. And I don't know if there's any truth to that rumor, but I figure why not? I have the owner of the team here next to me. Is there any truth to that idea?
Well, first of all, when you look at who we are, we're K-Wings, but we're also a part of the Kalamazoo community. Mm-hmm. And as you know, Rhonda and I would always do what's best for Kalamazoo. Change is difficult. It's hard for anybody. And so when these rumors come up, immediately people think in the present, and how would my life change, right? Right. But what I will say is this, that this rumor has gone on for 20 years. And if the community decided that this community was going to have a new arena event center in downtown Kalamazoo, then we would support that. The how that we would support that is yet unclear, because that arena and that event center is not built. It's not even on a drawing board. It's not something that we can
Yeah.
put our arms around.
Wave
right?
a magic wand and
But what I don't want people to take away is that we would not do it or we would not support it. And I don't want them to take away from this that we would be there. It's somewhere in between that, right?
Mhm.
Because we don't know what it is.
Sure.
But we would support this community in what's best. We also have to recognize this facility. We do our best with this facility. It was built in 1974. Right? And so we owe it to our fans also to have the very best facility that we can have. And we have invested significantly in millions and millions of dollars in making sure that this facility that was built in 1974 can be the most attractive, safest place for people to come, whether it's for hockey or events of any kind. And we always have to value that useful life, right? What's the useful life of a building? So all of that goes in the decision. And I would say, honestly, no decision has been made. There is nowhere else to play right now, right?
Right.
So here we are.
And this history has a lot of character. This building has a lot of character.
A lot of character.
Which I hear from other teams that come in, is they love coming here.
Exactly.
I wanted to also ask you about the corporate support that this team has received throughout the years, because season tickets and group tickets have been wonderful. This community has supported this team, and corporate support has always been there as well, which is, I think, invaluable for a minor league team to have that. One of the new initiatives this year is our Business Insiders ticket package that includes all of those things: hospitality, brand recognition, and season tickets. As a businessman yourself, what does it mean to have that kind of corporate support with other businesses here in town?
Well, it's critical. It's critically important to our organization to do that. But what we have to deliver on is the promise. You can't overpromise and underdeliver.
Right.
One of the things that we knew from the very beginning is that we have a great product. And we knew that there is a connection between what companies want to do as far as amenities and benefits for their employees. How do you build a great business culture? How do you build a great workplace culture? And part of having that great culture is by having events that your employees can share in. And so what we have tried to do over the years is package events for corporations where they can use K-Wings hockey as a great amenity, a great benefit for their teams that they are building within their organization. So all of those packages are designed to do that. And they've been very responsive, and we thank them for that.
I have a fun one for you, and this will change gears completely, but I know you're an avid golfer. I know you.
I'm a hack.
Yeah, hey, I'm definitely a hack. You've been to some cool places, and you've, I'm sure, been able to golf in a lot of fun courses. Do you have a favorite golf course you've ever played? And maybe if you had, this will put you on the spot a little bit, but if you had to pick an ideal golf foursome, anybody, who would be in it?
Right. Well, I think, first of all, I've never loved the game more than I've been so bad at in my life in golf. Michigan certainly has some very, very special golf courses. So at the top of my list, of course, I would have to say Kalamazoo Country Club because we own it.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful course and getting better every day. In the state of Michigan, then I would say I think Arcadia presents one of the best tracks, as well as one of the best physical environments that we have. You know, we love to bring people to Michigan that have never been here before, and you take them to the Michigan shoreline and their mouths drop open and they can't believe the beauty that we have. It's just a fabulous state. And so I think Arcadia epitomizes what can be done with fabulous golf course architecture and then combining that beautiful Michigan shoreline environment. And then if I were to move outside of the state of Michigan, I think certainly Sage Valley down in Aiken, South Carolina, the Card Sound Golf Club at Ocean Reef and Pebble. Those are all really spectacular places. You know.
You mentioned the Kalamazoo Country Club, so now I have to ask, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, your level of excitement when you found out you had the chance to purchase that country club?
Well, it was very high, and I'll tell you, we had worked with the leadership and board members of Kalamazoo Country Club, And they felt strongly, and we did too, that the answer for sustainability and growth was really private ownership as opposed to a member-governed nonprofit. And that's our opportunity to invest for the longer term and to make capital investments that some clubs just can't make through their dues and assessments. So it gives us a special opportunity.
Finally, as we prepare to reopen this year, and I know everybody's excited, it's been 16 months without hockey, and here we are, the 21-22 season's approaching. What are you most looking forward to as the owner of the Kalamazoo Wings? What's maybe the number one thing you're excited about?
Well, we approach every season with the same vigor and enthusiasm. And when you talk about how our games won, because we want the best on ice environment, which includes all of the events that we have on game night, but we also want to make it clear we're here to win. We're here to excel. We want to leave no unfinished business at all. And I believe that in life, and I believe that in sports particularly. If you can approach things with no unfinished business, then the wins and losses will take care of themselves. But then you can hold your head up and say, we did the very best we could. So on every shift, you don't want to leave a shift with unfinished business out there. You don't want to leave a shift saying, yeah, I skated a crappy shift. Every shift counts. So if that's true, then starting back in camp, every shift has to count. Right? And every selection of players has to count. And the coaching staff is here today, and they're working as they work every day. And we're trying to recruit, select, sign the very best players we can so that when we hit camp, every shift counts, every practice day, every routine, every skill set, every chance you are with in the room with athletic mentors or in the locker room, every time you come to work every day, it's because there's going to be a puck dropping at center ice, right? And it's going to be in October, and that's when it starts. And how we finish that season will depend upon all of that. So I'm excited about all of what I've just talked about. The stuff you can't see, I'm excited about. The stuff nobody will ever see except for the coaches and the players and everybody that works in this building. See, I'm excited about all of that because that leads to that home opener, and it leads to every one of the 36 home games and all of the opportunities that our fans, those families, those kids will get to see the results of what we're working on every day. So I'm excited about all of that.
Well, on behalf of all of us, and I'm sure our fan base, thank you, and thanks to Rhonda for your continued commitment to this organization and the community, and for coming on the show and hearing your thoughts on some of these things.
I'm delighted. Thanks so much for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
The owner of the Kalamazoo Wings, Bill Johnston, everybody.